Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Business Blondes. It's Thursday. It can only mean one thing: England's through. And Business Blondes, of course. But that's the number one thing. We made it. Hooray! And it's doing such a lot of good for us all. Don't we wake up today thinking, yes, there's hope. Yes, the sun is coming out again. England and football is coming home, but so is Business Blondes today. We're so pleased to see you. We've got an amazing guest, Claire Lee, who we'll introduce you to later. But let's have a little roundup and see how we're all doing this week. Kim, apart from the football and and that fabulous news that we got last night, what's happening in Kim's world?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting week. So we watched football with some friends that are in our support bubble on Saturday, and unfortunately then potentially thought we might have COVID, so had to be tested. So this week's been a bit of a juggle in having to try and do work and also look after my 4-year-old, who may well join us today. So if she does, heaven hope that she keeps it sensible. But yeah, no, all good. And I think you're right. It just gives us hope, and it makes us realise that actually, we can keep going, and we shouldn't give up, because the other side of failure is success. And actually, as long as we keep believing, then it's amazing what we can do. So hopeful, I think, is the summary of my week.
I love that. And if you're listening to Gareth Southgate and all the people talking around football, they're coming up with some very coachy terms right now. And it's less negative, nothing about the past. Let's look to the now. Let's keep focused. Let's give a bit more. And, as all of us are coaches here, except for Claire, we really recognise the power of those statements. Good to hear. Penny, how are things with you? What's happening in your exciting world, your new office there?
I know. Our nomadic life. Yeah, we come away this week to Isle of Wight to sort of combine work and pleasure. So we've cycled about 60 miles this week already. It's been great fun. It's a bit of work, a bit of pleasure, which has been great. I agree with you about the football thing. What it taught, I'm all about community, and it's when we're all rallying for the same thing, when we're all connected to one another. I think that's a great feeling of the energy, isn't it? It's this commonality of a conversation you can have with a stranger, on this campsite. You could feel a vibe with other people. I think that makes a huge difference. So I agree with you. I think that is really lovely. The other thing that we just did a skills session this morning for our clients. We've hired an expert on Google AdWords, which was phenomenal. And it did make me think about there is a sense of abundance, I think, growing, isn't there? We're coming out, people are wanting to spend money, they're wanting to invest in their businesses, they want to do things differently. And so I suppose my big thought at the moment is, how are people going to make the most of that energy that's out there? I think that's what I've been thinking about.
I agree. One of our viewers, Helen, says last night was a masterclass in mental resilience. Absolutely. We've all spent a whole year overcoming, transcending, really reaching in inner strength to get us through this dark time. And we're all behind those boys. We all want the best for them. And it's not just about England. It's about all the cultures who live here, all the ages, men, women, children, and other nationalities, all getting behind something that's so positive. It's such a great, heartwarming feeling. So we're really pleased today that we've got Claire with us. And I know Claire for some years, and she was known to me as the venue queen. Now, I used to have lots of workshops and events where I had to book things. And, having a venue queen, when you say, I've got 20 people, find me a place, it's got to be in this location, it's got to have this, and this, was great. And Claire, I passed her details on to VAs and people looking for venues for workshops, weddings. But of course, 2019, March, there were no events. But the great news is that Claire came up with a very novel idea called Borrow My Garden, which kind of says everything on the tin there. You've got someone's garden. Claire, welcome to Business Blondes. Tell us about your big, brave March 2019 move. How did you do that? How did you come up with this idea? What was the thinking behind it? And how has it gone?
Oh, thank you ever so much for having me today. So we actually launched the website in June 2019, so a little bit before COVID, and we'd done a lot of research. So as Venue Queen, we were being asked more and more for outdoor event space. There's nowhere to go just to find outdoor space. And then Jo, who's my business partner for Borrow My Garden, is a Google trusted photographer. She was asked to photograph somebody's garden who said they would like to start earning some money from their land. So she said, well, I'm a photographer, I can't help you with that. You need to speak to Claire. So we did a whole feasibility study on it. Could we get marquees in? Could we get toilets in, caterers in? Where would we park everybody? How do we make this work? And the feasibility was absolutely we could do it, but how would we take it to market? So we would build a website, we'd put it on the internet, and ultimately it'd be a website of somebody's back garden on the internet that nobody was ever going to find. So, okay, we know we've now got landowners because we know they won't be the only person. We know there's venues with land. We know there's farmers with land. We know there's buyers that are looking for land. We seem to have got the two bits here. So Jo did a lot of research on bits that are a little bit beyond my understanding. So Google long tail search terms and such like, and discovered that over 30,000 people were searching for different forms of outdoor event space. And when we consider this is pre-COVID, that's quite a big number when there's nowhere to go to find it. So we decided there and then we'd hit on a good idea, and it was absolutely the thing to do. So we launched in the June, we went to the glamping show, and at the glamping show, we were meeting all sorts of different people. So my background is venues and events. So I have a lot of contacts in that area, but going to the glamping show, we were meeting smallholders, we were meeting farmers who were basically saying if they didn't diversify, they would be looking at losing their farm and their land. And what were they going to do? How were they going to make that work? And once we spoke to them and sort of walked through how it works, and actually the whole onus is putting the end buyer in touch with the landowner. We don't take control of that. It's down to the landowner as to what they're allowed to take, what they're able to take, what their size allows them to take. So they still feel that they're in control. So all we're doing is passing the leads through to them. And of course it was oh, that's really, really good. But actually we're either arable farmers or we're sheep cattle farmers. We'll have to deal with people. And it's like, absolutely, but there's certain things we can do, and we can help you, and we can handhold, and we're here to support. And we've got a great support network, and we've got buddies whereby sort of farmers that have already diversified and are quite a way down the line, we've spoken to them and said, okay, we've got new people coming on board. We can talk to them and we can walk through everything, but we've never actually walked in their shoes. So we don't actually know some of the hurdles they're going to physically come across, although we can talk the talk. So some of our farmers have agreed to be buddies for the newer ones that are coming on board, so that the whole hand holding is just there. Because the last thing we want to do is go and drop somebody into something that they just feel overwhelmed by. So that was all brilliant. We then went to the Farming Innovation Show and obviously then met even more farmers. So that was great as well. And then March 2020 hit. We were already aware, Jo already runs a business, I was already running Venue Queen, so we knew that Borrow My Garden was almost going to have to fit in, which perhaps was a little bit naive maybe at the time. But then March 2020 hit, Venue Queen, all our work just got cancelled for 18 months. So we had time on our hands to be able to plough that time into Borrow My Garden, nurture it, get it through, look at it, what could we be doing? Events were not allowed to happen. But actually, these people had outdoor space, which is what we were then being told is the safest place to be. So my garden is a normal suburban garden, is absolutely no use at all for Borrow My Garden, just not going to work. It has to be something that people are going to want to come and visit, that you're able to do an event in. So if you're like the majority of people that has a normal suburban garden, it's probably not going to work for you. If you've got a large garden, if you've got a plot of land, if you're a venue with outdoor space, it's absolutely a revenue stream that you really ought to have been utilising before COVID. but COVID hopefully will make you open your eyes to it and see it as a revenue stream going forward, not just for now. So we're doing a lot of work with venues as well about making sure that they utilise this for the long term, not just for here and now. It's not about here and now. It's about what you're learning now and how you take that forward.
Kim, did you want to say something?
Yeah, sorry, I was just fascinated. What I love is that you've really given some thought, not just to the market, but also to the people that you're working with. So thinking about kind of what might be the challenges that they're facing and helping them to get that support and that buddy system. So almost to take the fear out. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely, because it's really scary. And if you're a farmer and you're used to dealing with sheep and cattle, to suddenly have to deal with, for example, a bride who wants to organise their wedding, there's a huge learning curve in that. But actually, they don't have to do that. They can take a ground hire and they can get an event planner to come in and do that. And that's the other thing we can bring in for them. We'll say to them, get up your preferred supplier list, speak to your local people. Who's your TP suppliers, your marquee suppliers, your bell tent suppliers, your caterers, your toilets. Work with people locally to you and actually make sure those are the ones that are coming in and servicing your clients that are coming onto your land. It should give you a secondary revenue stream, but it also means they're looking out for your business and your land as well. So it's about making sure that everybody's working in collaboration with everybody else for the good of everybody.
Yeah, I love that. And I know, Penny, this will be right up your street as well, because it's all about community, isn't it? And it sounds like what you're really doing is building that community around the business and then marrying the right people up. So, the people that are wanting the garden with the people that have got the garden with the people that can supply the bits that then turn it from a garden into a venue that you can create something with. And I love the fact that you didn't allow the challenges that we faced in the last 18 months to dampen that entrepreneurial spirit and instead harnessed it to say, actually, we can make something out of this and then let's keep it going. Hats off to you. Amazing job.
Thank you. It's just about listening to what people want. What are the general public looking for? And last year when they were coming to us, and for example, we had one of them was a grandma and granddad wanted to go away with their children. So 3 generations, no more than 15 people, but they couldn't get into a campsite because all the campsites were on reduced capacity. Where could they go? Actually, you could go to one of these venues, farmers' field, small holding, whatever, take a whole field. You're not going to see another human being that at no other time in your lives would ever be acceptable. But last year, nobody wanted to see anybody, but we're happy to be within that family unit, if you like, and share amongst that family unit, but not see anybody else. And that's exactly what some of our landowners did, and they capitalised on that.
Brilliant. I love it. That real innovation in action, isn't it? And I think that's one of the things that, and I guess it pulls back, doesn't it, where we started at the start of the show with kind of that what's happening at the moment with the football. It's almost it's that entrepreneurial spirit, it's that drive and that passion that gives us all hope that actually, we could perhaps do the unexpected or the inexplicable or the fearfulness ourselves. Actually, I think not only is it a great business, it's a great message to get out to people to say, do you know, just trust your instinct, go and ask the questions, seek to understand, and then give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? I love it.
But you must have, the farmers must love you, Claire. They must have thought, well, hold on a minute, someone's come in and come up with some innovative ideas, this bit of land that's sitting there. You must, also the learning curve for you, huge.
Absolutely massive. If I think back 6 years ago, I was director of sales in a property that had got loads of land and we were wining and dining people. And it was all, it was great. Absolutely loved my job. Last year, I'm stood in fields feeding lambs and cuddling Highland cows. Like, how more extreme do you get? But it was just the best. Just the best. And people that go and stay on these farms get to then some of the time, depending on the farm, we get to interact with some of the animals as well, which is just, for a townie type person, is just amazing.
You're doing that now in your motorhome, aren't you, Penny?
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is last year. We're sort of the cliche of lockdown, bought our motorhome, and I think we've been camping 10 times now in the last year. And You know, I think anybody who's got these ideas, it's a brilliant idea. And we always choose, well, they call them touring parks, not campsites, because we don't want the swimming pool and the noise. We like, you know, so it absolutely is a brilliant idea. I'll be looking it up. And yeah, so what I'm curious about, Claire, is what was your biggest sort of learning curve when you were pivoting to this? What was the toughest bit?
Really, for me, it was when all the camping inquiries started coming through. I was like, oh, no, we're not a camping website. We're an events website. But then it was like, hold on a minute. When we'd spoken to a couple of the landowners, they said, but we can't do events. Our fields are sitting empty. We could have people camping on here. And actually, they don't want to do the camping long term. They just want to do it as a stopgap, if you like, until they can start having the events back again.
Absolutely brilliant. And the business, you being a venue planner, you're still doing that, are you? Once you're back up and running, once the venues.
Yes, no, absolutely. And it's starting to come back, but very much, it's really interesting. So very much, nearly all the inquiries we're starting to get now are, we want to have some element of outdoor event space if we don't want to be outside all the time. So it might be, you know, whereas before it would have been 20 people coming for a meeting all day. Now it's 20 people having a morning meeting, then we want to do something outside. And if it rains, we take on board, we'll get wet.
Yeah.
Whereas previously it was just the 20 people all day inside.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So people are wanting that now, aren't they? Wanting a bit of outdoors. They want something different, I think. What's the typical, what sort of events, apart from weddings, what other events are people having on these bits of land?
So corporate team building, there's a lot of new businesses that have started in the last year. And of course, their workforce have never met. They're only used to speaking to a screen. So they're trying to get people back out face to face in a safe environment, outdoors, TP style, or just outdoors all day. And they're either trying to give something back as a thank you or trying to get their team to learn more about each other in person.
Brilliant. That's great. And so you were all over the news recently. Making TV headlines. What happened? What was that? Why did it all suddenly take off and Sky News wanted to talk to you? What was that all about?
So we had a huge amount of interest on the basis we were seen as a positive news story, which is obviously a great place to be. We'd had a couple of interviews with a couple of journalists who said we would be going to be going into certain publications. And then all of a sudden we saw a spike in our analytics, but actually couldn't work out where it had come from. And a couple of days later, the spike was still there. And somebody, when they were talking to us, said, did you not see it? You had a piece in the Style magazine of the Sunday Times. So then, of course, on the Tuesday, we're then trying to get a backdated copy of the Style magazines from the Sunday Times to try and find it. And it literally was a one-liner in the corner, and it had made that much of an impression. The following week, we were in the Sunday Telegraph. A couple of weeks after that, we were in Waitrose Weekend. Then we ended up in the Times. Then we were on BBC Radio. Then we were on Tyler.com, part of Lab Bible. Then we were on Virgin Radio, and then Sky News. So it was all a very, very, very quick, didn't have time to think about anything. We need this and we need it now. Can you get it to us? So yeah, it's been just an amazing journey over the last 18 months, but particularly in the last 2-3 months. And it's just continuing. We're still doing interviews now. So it's just amazing.
This is so good to hear, because journalists are notorious for always flagging up the bad news. And, you know, and I do say to my clients, I wouldn't listen to too much news if I were you, because it brings you down if you're not in a great place, which is years ago why I asked to do a Happy Monday column. But I'm really glad now that journalists are getting that good news stories sell too. And we're in a place where we all want to hear great news now, not all the sad news. Kim,
right. I think it is that, you know, it used to be like pity loves a party, doesn't it? So, you know, if we have bad news, it makes us feel better about anything that's going bad in our world. But I think now we've been so locked into this space that actually we just want to socially connect again, and we want to connect in a positive way. So when you hear something that is such a great news story, 2, it's really listening to what people are wanting to do, and 3, it's providing them with that opportunity to connect socially. You can see why people are like really champing at the bit to be part of this story. And interesting you were saying, Claire, about corporate life. I think one of the big challenges is we now move from what was very much in the office, and then we've just done 18 months of remote working. We're now moving to that hybrid model. And I think people are now looking at how do we create that social connection again for our teams, either teams that previously had been socially connected or for all of those teams that haven't been. I know loads of people who've either joined new companies or moved companies or set up businesses where they've been working together now for over a year and they've never actually met. And there's almost that trepidation, isn't there, about I've been talking to these people for a year, but I've never actually met them, and now I'm going to meet them. So I can imagine that there's a real opportunity there that you can help people with to create that space for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've just been working on a brief and it is literally 25 people through a company that has grown significantly in lockdown, which meant they've recruited everybody in lockdown. So nobody has met, even the directors that have employed everybody actually never met anybody. Almost random that you're being interviewed in your own bedroom type of thing these days. But that's exactly what they wanted to do. They wanted to get back outside in a safe environment, but get their team together so that they understand each other on a totally new level.
I love it. You can see that this could be the real future, because I think as we move into whatever is going to be our new normal, whatever that's going to be, I think we're going to see the dials change, where actually people come together for work on the social element and probably do the work bit back on their own. And forgive me, I can hear steps outside. I've got a feeling I'm about to have a little person.
I guess having events outside puts a lot of people's minds at rest. Now, I know Penny had some big events coming up, and it was very much relying on the venues, discretion, whether people can meet, whether people are feeling confident to meet. Do you remember, Penny, you did a big mastermind and a big event, and it's all very tentative at the moment.
It's just this unsure period about and people getting a track and trace thing and saying they now need to isolate. That's the trouble. People had paid their tickets and we had paid the venue, and then people had to stay home and isolate, and then they want refunds, understandably, but actually you had a cut-off date and you've paid the venue and you've paid for the food in advance, and it is all terribly ambiguous. So this is a really good idea. So how does it actually work, Claire? Say I wanted to run an event, I found somewhere. Would I take gazebos and take all the equipment with me to have there at the venue?
So it really depends. It's really down to between you and the landowner. So some landowners have all that and can supply everything. Some will just provide you with literally just a field. So there's no water, there's no power. You are literally getting a field. Yeah. So they would probably be able to suggest preferred suppliers that they work with locally. If you're a corporate, you might have suppliers that you've worked with all the way through, bringing those in. And again, as long as all their health and safety and the public liability and all those bits and pieces are in place, there's no reason why that can't work. So it's really down to that end landowner as to how they work with all those suppliers and with you as the end user.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I'll have to have a good search of the different venues or the different locations. It sounds really brilliant. Fantastic idea. Really innovative. And I really can imagine how explosive this could be for you, Claire, because I imagine your Airbnb started, just with a couple of guys who wanted to be, I think it was at the celebration of Barack Obama, wasn't they? They wanted to be in Washington, and they said, has anybody got a sofa bed? And now look what it is. So, it's amazing how these ideas can grow. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
I'm noticing people want to make their own events now. They don't just want to buy a package off a shelf saying this is my wedding package. They say, no, I want this sort of event. I want a band. I want a pizza making thing that comes. It's almost like build your own event now. And there's something really personal about that, and homespun, but good for being homespun, much more personal. and memorable, actually. I've been to some lovely events in fields. I didn't think I'd like it, but you can wear heels and not sink in the mud as well.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it's all about now, is about making your event totally personal, and you will never go to 2 events the same if you're doing it outdoors.
Yeah. Which welcome Scarlett, who's just joined us, who's now an Unofficial Business Blonde. And I forgot to say an apologies to Sam, who was unable to make it this week. We're thinking of you. We're hoping your business is going well. She'll be with us next week. But it's been really, really good to talk to you, Claire. And I think this, as Penny said, this has got legs, hasn't it, this particular idea? And where will it stop? I mean, you've got Borrow My Garden. Can it be Borrow Something Else?
Well, I mean, it just could keep going on, couldn't it? And we do keep being asked if we do overseas, and it's like, no, we need to establish ourselves in UK first, and then once we've established ourselves in UK, that might be something we look at. But ultimately, it's going to be dictated to by what the end person is looking for.
Well, there's a lot of fields in France. there's a lot of deserts in America. You know, this is the world to your oyster, really. You've got a bit of land.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, outdoors is king at the moment.
Yeah. Well, we're just hoping for good weather for this weekend. And, you know, it really changes everything when we have the sunshine. So as we round up, and maybe you could share a little business tip for us as well as we go around. We usually share a little thought or something that we hope people will take away. So, Kim, what would you like to add as your little bit of pixie dust to sprinkle on our viewers this week to say, take this with you?
So I think for me, and Claire, it's been such a great lesson in this. It's trust your instincts and ask questions. So what I love about what you've done is you had an instinct that there was an idea, and then you went and asked lots of questions to validate whether that idea was right. And I think that's what we should be doing. Very often we have an idea and we keep it in our head, and then the only question we ask is why it's not going to be achievable. So get it out there, go and ask other people and validate your view. I think that would probably be my takeaway.
Fantastic. I really love that. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Penny?
Yeah, I think picking up from when we started the show, I would say, you know, tune into some of the abundance. A lot of people might have got into a feeling of scarcity and life's hard and almost a fixed mindset around seeing the ways that we are limited, but actually start dialing in and tuning into a different frequency now, because there is a lot going on. There's a lot of exciting things out there, a lot of money being spent. There is abundance out there. So tune your frequency into that, I would say.
I love that, because it is about how you're viewing your world and your life. We become what we believe. So we had to believe for a year that things were dangerous and we had to be cautious. But, you know, let's get behind Boris a bit here and get out there and try and be positive and seek the positive, just as the press did with Claire. Seek the positive stories, find the little things that make life enjoyable. Claire, what would be your tip to take away?
Listen to what people are saying and hear what people are saying, because often that's the best way forwards. It just challenges your idea of what you think is right.
None of us know everything, although I sometimes think I do. But if you really truly keep an open mind and an open heart, you do learn. And there's almost a lovely sense of, I don't have to control everything. If I do keep an open heart and an open mind, I am a student, the eternal student, and I'm happy to be told something new. I'm willing to be told something new. I want to be told something new. And I think that's what we're going into new territory now. My little tip would be, keep it simple. You know, Borrow My Garden, it absolutely is what it is. And some people want to start a business and they're looking for something so complex and so niche and so unique and so out there, that actually the most simple things right under your nose are the ones that are the most successful. So I leave you with the one phrase, come on England, Sunday. Everybody enjoy this time. We are united in positivity, sending those boys every bit of good luck, every bit of positivity that we possibly can. And who knows, it might just turn around and work for them. So thank you so much. Over to you, Kim, to wind up today's programme.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a delight, and you're right. Here's hoping for a spectacular final on Sunday, and let's all have hope. I love that what Claire's been saying about really listen to understand, not to interject, and just trust your instinct. But if you would like to join us here and be in Claire's seat, then please do get in touch at www.businessblondes.tv. And until next time, take care and look after each other. See you soon.